Hello everyone. Dan Buman has just uploaded a video showing his recently painted model of a barn from a company called Total Battle Miniatures, and he's done a fantastic job on it. It's 28mm model. He's bought a whole load of them, and this is the first one he's completed. But by coincidence, I recently acquired a 28mm building from Total Battle Miniatures. I still haven't got it painted up, but I have got. I've known about them for a long time, and I have got a lot of 15mm buildings from them. And I'm so keen on the company that I wanted to just put this video up to reinforce Dan's message about them, because they really are a company worth investigating. So what you're looking at here is a town set, 15mm buildings, and they come basically. They have a whole assortment of ranges and scales, but the two main ones are they have a skirmish range and they have a big battalions range. Now the skirmish range are literally 1-to-1 scale. The big battalions are slightly different in that the models have footprints that will suit more appropriately rules such as black powder rules or something like that. So the footprints of the buildings are slightly smaller than they would be if you scaled the buildings down to reflect the accurate ground scale of a building, if that makes sense. So this basically comes from the big battalion set and from their black powder era range. So I'm just looking at their website, and in the big battalions they've got 4 scale: 6mm, 10mm, 15mm, and 28mm. Now in 15 and 28mm, really all they do is black powder Europe. But in 10 and in 10mm as well. But in 6mm they do everything from early medieval right the way through to Russian Napoleonic, so Americana as well. So you could use the 6mm buildings for the American Civil War, for instance. But the reason I got this set, and the reason why you might think it's painted in a kind of very sort of garish yellow colour, is that when the black powder rules first came out, there was a scenario a scenario in War Games Illustrated, I believe it was, for a game of black powder set during the Franco-Prussian War. Now, I haven't got any 15mm figures for the Franco-Prussian War, but someone down at the local club in Plymouth did, and it was keen to play a game using his figures and the black powder rules. So I decided I was going to supply all the scenery for it. So I purchased these buildings at the time, and a couple of others that I'll show you in a moment, painted them up, and it struck me that at the time that a lot of the buildings in that sort of part of the world, Alsace-Lorraine and eastern France, did seem to be portrayed with this sort of kind of a sort of ochre coloured buildings and so on. So I thought I would go for that and red roof tiles. I mean, it's up to you how you paint your figures, obviously, but that's the reason I painted them in this sort of slightly strange colour. But these would do for quite a few periods, from I don't know, they probably worked from the sort of 17th century, the 30 Years' War or something, right through to the Second World War. Obviously, depending on the era, you might want to remove some of the buildings and replace them with something a bit more contemporary, sort of news agents or something like that. If you were doing the Second World War. But I just really like their buildings. They basically, what if you buy the town set, or they do a village set as well, which is slightly smaller, comes with a kind of resin tile base, which I've glued down to a foot square wooden tile as well, so it's a lot firmer. The buildings all have a sort of set footprint, so you can remove them, change them around. So one of those buildings is the equivalent of half of that templated area. And as I say, you can move them around, change them to your taste. I haven't got any, as I say, I haven't got any 15mm Napoleonic figures or figures for the Franco-Prussian War, but I've got some 18mm Crimean War. Not quite the right style, but it'll give you an idea of scale. So that they are 18mm figures, so slightly larger than 15mm, but I think you can see they match up pretty well. The walls on this tile are attached to this, so the walls don't separate out. The walls are attached to the resin tile, so they can't be moved. But they're just lovely little quirky sort of towers. I mean, I don't know what this is. It's some kind of guild house or town hall maybe, with a clock tower. Really like that building, and the one, I think it's the one the one next to it as well. I like this. It's got a nice little staircase going up the side to another door. When you put them on the tiles, obviously you have to be careful not to, sort of put them so the doors come out at inconvenient places and so on. So you're limited in that respect. So yeah, I mean, I think Total Battle Miniatures really worth investigating. This this whole set you can actually get in a sort of Russian. With a sort of Eastern Europe appearance, if I remember rightly. I'll just try and look that up. And yeah, so you can get a church with a dome rather than with this spire. You can get two types of spire. You can get one with a tile spire and one with a lead or copper spire. So this is the lead or copper spire. There's a Schloss. Let me show you some of the other ones I've purchased, because I've got some others that I bought at the same time as well. So I also purchased this, which is a Chateau, I believe. Yeah, Chateau, and it's got this I had in mind. I built a sort of walled enclosure so that it was set in its own kind of little mini estate, but the walls I got from another company, so I won't show you that. and I had this sort of separate so that I could use the walled enclosure for other settings as well. But this is very kind of typical French sort of style. I think that's called a mansard roof, if I remember rightly. And I also got another barn, which I painted with a slightly different kind of stone colouring, but this is the same footprint, so I could use this on that town set instead of one of the other buildings, or this would do as a sort of standalone item on a battlefield. And then I'll show you the other thing that I've just purchased recently, as I say. Now this is a 28mm building. I believe, let me just look it up, I think this is in the Skirmish set. Yeah, this is in the 28mm Dark Age Skirmish section, and it's what's known as a black house, a Highland black house. So you can see where I'm going from this if you've been following my channel, because I'm going to paint this up and use it with my Jacobite Highlanders. But it's sold under the Dark Ages, and you could use this for a Dark Age hut. Now, with the skirmish buildings and with the 28s in particular, the roofs do separate out, and inside there's a whole host of detail in there. So the part as you go through the door is clearly where they would house their animals at night. So there's sort of fodder for the animals there, and then inside there's a whole range of benches with bits of timber and so on, and in the centre there's a fireplace or a hearth, and the roof is meant to be turf, so that would be sort of painted sort of greeny yellow colour, held down, probably supported by timbers and held down with stones. So yeah, really looking forward to painting that up, and I was going to show you that once I'd painted it, but as I was on the subject of Total Battle Miniatures, I thought I would get that out and show you pre-painting. Right, so that's it. Yep, it's just to reinforce what Dan said about Total Battle Miniatures. I mean, they are expensive. You do have to paint them, obviously, but they're a really good investment. They're really high quality and useful for a whole host of periods. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. Bye for now.